Alright. Hi on the way back. Talking about Red Dwarf Season 3. And I'm making Dan do this before I leave because he's like, we should watch Season 4. And then I'm like, no, dang it. I'm trying not to conflate the two. So, we need to do this and then we can watch Season 4 when I get back. It'll be great. So my favorite one on this is the body, and I can't remember, I think it's Bodyswap, where they end up having to do, Lister and Rimmer and Lister, and you knew it was a bad idea to give Rimmer your body. But still, it's an amazingly well executed episode, and I think it's the funniest out of the 6 in that season. The rest are, I don't know.
Lister knew what was going to happen right when they asked him, why he didn't want to do it in the first place. And Rimmer proved him right.
Yeah.
Because everybody knew that Rimmer's an evil, selfish, greedy, self-serving motherfucker. And,
Hey, let's curse him. We gotta post this to YouTube. I'm gonna get flagged. Use the F word.
and he had no intention of giving back Lister's body if he can at all help it.
Yeah, it's a nutty episode. It's almost as good as that other one where they have the doppelgangers, but yeah. Anyway, you learn in the production notes, it's a pain in the butt, because, they have to basically do their roles, and then they have to dub the voices in, separately, and time it out so that it, matches the other person's facial expression, which has to be...
Kind of a reverse lip sync.
Yeah, it's very...
I had to study the lip sync with the other person speaking the line.
And it just sounds mondo hard. I do want to open, though, with my critique that I don't particularly like the third season. I know everyone on the cast is like, don't be nostalgic for the first 2 seasons of Dwarf. They hated the boxy sets, they hated the fact that it was very gray, and I'm like, but if you were working on a mining ship, it's kind of like a Navy ship. They don't, make them pretty for you to be in there, even if you're on there a long time. You're in berths, you're tacking up pinups or whatever, images of Fiji, in Lister's case. It's not designed to be pretty, and I actually sort of liked that aesthetic, and when they went sort of whole hog with the green starbug, which is kind of cute, but it's green everywhere, and then red everywhere, and I understand why they moved to the officers' quarters, but unless you actually very slowly work through the first episode's Star Wars-esque screen that it opens with, you have no idea what the heck is going on. You're basically dropped straight into the series, and there's no recognition that Holly, who was male, is now suddenly female, because Hilly apparently becomes Holly, and I thought there was some sort of plot that explained how Holly got the gender transformation, but apparently not. Apparently it's just boom, here's Hattie, which is great. We love Hattie, nothing against Hattie. But it's very, very jarring.
The series, and she was the next one up.
Yeah, because Norm basically is I'm in Edinburgh, and I don't feel like going back and forth to London and Manchester to shoot all this, because basically he's ahead.
For rehearsals.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, if it was just shooting, he probably would have kept continuing.
Yeah, because he had a small part, because that was his argument. He's dude, I don't...
I don't act. You see my face, and I read the words.
Yeah, and he did a lot of the exposition, so they pointed out that with Norman Lovett gone and Holly now being Hattie, the exposition became more on... Crichton, and became more of Crichton's job to do exposition as opposed to Holly, which was kind of a third-person narrator, which is interesting. I like Crichton's expanded role. I prefer Robert Llewellyn as Crichton. The original Crichton just weirds me out. I don't know why. It just seems odd, and you don't recognize Robert Llewellyn at all, which is interesting. Giant foam mask has something to do with that. Poor guy. Let's see, what else? Dan?
I'm trying to think.
Watched a lot of footage from 2000 era, I don't want to say Comic Cons, but Red Dwarf cons, where I'm dude, if I had the money back then, I probably would have been there.
Yeah. In the Trading Places episode, and it was also funny because, Rimmer thought he was going to go back in time and convince his former self to invent the tension sheet.
The tension sheet!
The tension sheet. The bubble wrap sheet that somebody marketed and made millions on.
By painting it red and then printing in white tension sheet and making it like in small enough strips. And I'm just like, that is so bloody genius. And they got that like 1983. And I'm like, we got fidget toys now. I could totally see tension sheets. I haven't done the tension sheet, but...
And he came back and he was waiting for himself to disappear as a hologram and not even be on Red Dwarf because everything would have changed.
He would have been rich.
Butterfly effect.
Yes.
And instead, his brother or his cousin, who was laying in the other bed while he was telling himself.
Well, that's his like not friend. Let's put it that way. His acquaintance, Thicky.
It was his acquaintance that capitalized on it, so everybody on Red Dwarf stayed the same.
Yep.
And then they all went back, and Lister invented it. He could.
That was the first one, though. Lister did it the first time, and that's why Rimmer had to go back. Remember, because Rimmer goes, "It is my duty as an absolute bastard to ruin your life."
Well, but Lister the hippie wouldn't do it because he was an anti-capitalist.
But how did he become the millionaire?
He freaking realized it.
Apparently, I think we need to rewatch this episode.
He realized that money can help him with his other hippie goals, and he made the money.
No, remember, Lister goes back first and talks to his younger self, and shows it to his younger self. And that's how the younger self gets super rich. But yeah, you're right. I think it is for hippie goals / music goals. I don't know. This is the problem of like reviewing so far after we finish the last bonus footage.
And then they went back and tried to convince Rich Lister to not be rich and to go join the Red Dwarf crew so they would all be back where they were, and he didn't want to do. I don't know. I don't remember how it ended up going back to original, but.
Anyway, it's alright. When I come back, we'll probably end up watching them with the cast commentaries on for the first 3 seasons, because that was, I think, the one thing I skipped. Because I'm like, you don't want to watch this with all the cast talking, do you? And he's like, well, maybe. So I'll give Dan credit. He's been pretty generous with watching the Red Dwarf stuff. Reliving my, not childhood, because I didn't have access to all this cool shit when I was a kid, because I was poor, so.
It's an interesting series, and I didn't watch it because I was never home when it was on. It was during a period of my life where, you know, whilst I wasn't a drinker at the time, I was being sober and all that.
Okay.
I still went to strip bars.
Okay, Dan, we're trying to...
And I wasn't home during the time that was on TV.
Okay. Trying to wrap this up before we get too close to the cemetery, and we're already up on the cemetery, so goodbye, universe.